Oh, it's A and B.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so really quick, going over your do now. So for your do now, remember vertex form, y equals a times x minus h squared plus k, right? So if I'm given the vertex, that's my h, that's my k. If I'm given the point, that's my x, that's my y, and I just have to solve for the a. So I plug in what I have. I have 6 equals a times 0 minus 1 squared plus 2. And that gives me 6 equals a plus 2. And I'm going to subtract 2. And I get 4. So my a equals 4, which means that my equation would be y equals 4x minus 1 squared plus 2. How'd you do? Hopefully you got that. All right, let's dive in. So notes, vertical parabola, focus, and directrix. So this is our last section before our test, and it is a little bit more involved than previously. So be open-minded. It's a lot more formulas and solving in this last section. So I've broken it into 2 days. Today we're going to do vertical, and then tomorrow we're going to do horizontal. So key things we have to focus on. A parabola is a set of all points in a plane which are equal distance from a given point and a given line, okay? The point, that's called your focus. So equal distance from the focus, and the line is called your directrix. This right here, that's your directrix, okay? The directrix is perpendicular to the axis of symmetry. So our axis of symmetry and our directrix are perpendicular. And they do not touch the parabola. It does not touch the parabola. So the directrix is not on the parabola. So what we're working with here is when you have, there's 2 choices for vertical parabola. You have one where the vertex is at 0, 0, and you have one where the vertex is at HK, okay? Our focus is 0, our C value if it's at the vertex. If it's not at the vertex, our focus is H, K plus C. So all of these are variables that either we are given or we have to solve for. But remember, for variables that we're solving, usually you're given 2 of them, and you just have to solve for the one that's missing. And then our directrix is y equals negative C. And C comes from our A. So key thing here is that A equals 1 over 4C. So instead of having A, it now has been replaced with 1 over 4C. So it's going to be a lot of substituting and working backwards. All right. So first thing here, it says, what is an equation of a parabola with a vertex at the origin and the focus 0, 2? Okay. So we're working with a parabola that has a vertex at the origin. So that means that the equation that we're using is y equals 1 over 4c x squared. Okay. And so easy thing here is that our vertex is going to be 0, 0 because it's at the origin. So that's why we don't have to plug them in. It's HK. But we need to solve for our C. And because it tells us our focus, you need to remember that focus, that's not how you spell focus, y'all, has 1 C, not 2. Our focus is 0, C. So what is our C value? What do you see? Focus is 0, 2. So therefore our C equals 2 because of this guy. Okay. And so all we have to do now is plug into the equation y equals 1 over 4c x squared. So our y equals our function equals 1 over 4. Our c is 2x squared. So our equation is y equals 1 over 8x squared would be the graph, would be the equation of this parabola. All right, what are your questions? Is it terrible? Okay. For your test, you get to make a note card so that you can reference these things. Would putting the top part of your notes on a note card be a smart thing to do? Yeah, so that you can remember those rules and those formulas. All right, here, we're going to do it again. So, question again, what is an equation of a parabola with a vertex 0, 0 and a focus of 0, -1, 5? Okay, so the first thing you do is identify your C, your H, and your K. Remember that your focus, when you're at the origin, is 0, comma, your C. So I know H equals 0, K equals 0, and in this case, C equals -1.5. Once you've identified your variables, then you're just going to plug them into the equation. Y equals 1 over 4cx squared. So that gives me y equals 1 over 4 times 1.5 x squared. So y equals 1 over 6x squared. Okay, so these are considered our simple type problems. How do we feel about the simple type problems? Level 1, like playing a video game. All right, so we're gonna move on from level 1 to level 2. Why is my level 2 so tiny? All right, so back to what we were doing. So this time, it wants us to find the information from given the equation. So they gave us our equation, and they want us to find our vertex, the focus, and the directrix of y equals -112x squared. So here, we're going to need to figure out our C value. And to find our C value, we're going to take our A, and what is A currently? -112. So we have A equals -112. And we're going to set A equal to 1 over 4C. And the reason why we're doing that is because it's normally y equals 1 over 4cx squared. And we're going to cross multiply to solve. So we have -1 over 12 equals 1 over 4c. So this is a proportion we've set up in sense. So we're going to cross multiply. So I'm going to cross multiply. I have -1 times 4c is -4c. I have 1 times 12 equals 12. I divide by -4. And I get c equals -3. So I have my C value. To find the vertex, we need our H and K. If there is no H and K, what does that mean your vertex is at? If you said 0, 0, you are absolutely correct. To find the focus, it's 0, comma, your C value. Did we find our C value already? Why, yes, we did. What did we get? -3. So our focus is 0, comma, -3. And your directrix, the line that is perpendicular to your axis of symmetry, equals y equals -c. Well, my C is So we have y equals negative 3, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So our directrix is y equals 3. So we answered the question. The vertex is at 0, 0. The focus is at 0, negative 3. And our directrix is at y equals 3. How do we feel? So once you do step 1, everything else just falls into place, right? Questions, comments, concerns? All right, let's do another one. So this time we have y equals 1 over 20x squared. And again, we're going to identify our a and use it to find the value of our c. So in this problem, our a equals 1 over 20. And since a equals 1 over 4c, we have 1 over 20 equals 1 over 4c. And in this case, it's pretty straightforward. You can ask yourself, what times 4 gives me 20? 5. So c has to equal 5. Could you still cross multiply if you want? Of course. Or I can do a little math shortcut and say, okay, how can I make my denominators the same in order for this to be a true statement? C would have to equal 5. The vertex, because there's no h and k here, I know that the vertex is at 0, 0. To find the focus, it's 0, comma our c value. And what did we get for our c value? 5. Focus has been found. And then to find the directrix is y equals negative c. And so y equals negative 5 is our vertex, is our directrix. So there's our directrix. All right, how do we feel? Uh-oh. Level 2. Not terrible? All right, we're going to go up another notch. So here it says, write an equation of a parabola with the vertex at the origin and the directrix at y equals 5. Okay, this. Okay, so we decide what type of parabola we have. Well, it says that our vertex is at the origin. So we're working with our vertical parabola. And the equation of our vertical parabola is y equals 1 over 4cx squared. Okay, and so based on what we have going here, we need to identify what our C, H, and K are. So our C, remember your directrix is y equals negative c. So if we have y equals 5, if we have y and we know that y equals 5, that means we have negative c equals 5. So c equals negative 5. And then identify our vertex. Well, that's easy because it's set at the origin. So our vertex is just simply 0, 0. And now we're going to plug it into the equation form. And we already established what equation we were working with. So the only thing we have to plug in is c, right? And what is c? Negative 5. So we have y equals 1 over 4 times negative 5 x squared, which means our equation is y equals 1 over negative 20 x squared. Okay, so here, this is our last type of problem you would get working with the origin. If your vertical parabola is at the origin. How do we feel? Okay. So now we're going to move into what if you're not at the origin? Okay, so now we actually have values for h and k. So this problem we say, it says, what is an equation of a parabola with the given vertex and focus? So my vertex is negative 2, 5, and my focus is negative 2, 6, okay? Key thing here to note, notice is that when you have a vertical parabola, for a vertical parabola, the x value of your vertex and the x value of your focus are the same. So the x value of vertex and focus are the same. Okay. So in this problem, identify our vertex. Our vertex is negative 2, 5. So therefore, h equals negative 2 and k equals 5. Next, we're going to use our focus to find our c value. And the reason why we're going to use our focus to find our c value is because focus is h, comma, k plus c. And we know that our focus is negative 2, comma 6. So I can use k plus 6, make k plus c equals 6 to solve for c. Okay, so we have k plus c equals 6. Well, what is k? K equals 5. So 5 plus c equals 6. So what does c have to be? 1. So c equals 1. And now that I have solved for all my variables, I'm going to write it using the vertex form. So your vertex form here for the vertical parabola is this guy. So I'm plugging in my c, my h, and my k. So we have y equals 1 over 4 times 1 times x minus h, which is negative 2 squared, plus k, which is 5. I'm going to clean this up. Y equals 1 over 4. A negative times a negative is a positive. X plus 2 squared plus 5. Remember, your focus isn't a point on your quadratic. It's the point that the values of the quadratic are equal distance from, okay? So you can't just do it like we do now, because it's not a point on your quadratic. Questions, comments? Okay. Let's try another one. So this time it says, what is the equation of parabola with a focus 6, 8, and the directrix y equals -2. Okay, so if you remember in our previous one, we said that when you have a vertical parabola, that the x and the x values of your focus and your vertex are the same. So that means that h in this case has to equal 6, because the x values and your focus and your vertex have to be the same. Okay, and then we got to find our k value, because we can't have a vertex without a k. To find our k value, we use our focus and our directrix. And the reason why we use both is because your focus, that's your h comma k plus c, and your directrix is y equals k minus c. Okay, so using our focus to find our k value, well, what is the y value of our focus? Our y value of our focus is 8. So we know that 8 equals k plus c. Okay, using our directrix, and our directrix is equal to -2. We know that -2 has to equal k minus c. So -2 equals k minus c. And so what type of situation did we set up here for ourselves? A hint, it starts with an S. I'll tell you, a system. We set up a system. So we end up with -2 equals k minus c. And I can use elimination, right? Do you remember doing elimination? So I can use elimination. And we're going to use elimination. And what eliminates my c values? 8 minus 2 is 6 equals 2k. Divide by 2. So k equals 3. So we now know that k equals 3. Okay, and so we either can use our directrix or our focus to find our c value. Actually, you don't have to just use focus, you can use either one. But it's just saying that our focus, remember, it's h comma k plus c. And if we know the value of k, we can find the value of c, which we do, so we can plug it into either one. So you either can use this guy or this guy to solve for c. Doesn't really matter which one. I'm going to model both. So if I choose to use the focus, that's the 8 equals 3 plus c. I subtract 3, and I get 5 equals c. If you choose to use the directrix, you have -2 equals 3 minus c. Subtract 3. I get -5 equals -c. So 5 equals c. So again, does it matter which one you use? No, either one. I just typically use the focus because my c is already positive and I don't have to divide. Does that make sense? Or remember to change the sign. So now we have our c. And now you're going to write it all as in your equation. So your equation again, is y equals 1 over 4c times x minus h squared plus k. I have my c, I have my h, I have my k. I'm gonna plug all those bad boys in. Y equals 1 over 4 times 5 times x minus 6 squared plus 3. So y equals 1 over 20, x minus 6 squared plus 3. Questions about example 7? It's a lot of plug here and plug there, but it's simple math. All right. 8 is completely worked out. It's a word problem. Okay, so it's a word problem. It says the mirror reflector of a flashlight is 8 centimeters across and 4 centimeters deep. How far from the vertex should the light bulb be positioned? What is the focal length? Okay, so when we are looking for our focal length, we are looking for our C value. Okay, so we are going to use the equation of the vertical parabola with a vertex at the origin. That's why we're using y equals 4cx squared, and we're going to solve for c. So the vertex is at 0, 0. So the reflector, that is 8 centimeters across. So from 0, 0, in order for me to be 8 centimeters across, I'm going to go 4 units to the left and 4 units to the right. That makes me 8 centimeters across. Then it says that the reflector is 4 centimeters deep. And so since it's 4 centimeters deep, that's why the distance between here and there is 4. So the values that I have, I can use on my parabola would be here at negative 4, 4, or here at positive 4, 4. And I'm going to substitute either one of them is for x and y in the equation. So we have y equals 1 over 4cx squared. And then we have, we're going to substitute in, might as well use the positives, right? So we substituted in 4 and 4 for x and y. We simplify, 4 squared becomes 16. And then we solve for c. And we got 1. So c equals 1. And our focus would be at 0, 1. And if it asks for our directrix, it would be at y equals negative 1. So the light bulb should be at 0, 1. And that is it.